Welcome to our series, Moving America Forward. Each week we'll be focusing on America's entrepreneurs as they take us to new roads, new opportunities, new ways to fill the gaps left by today's failing companies. Our series will be looking at that and a lot more. So come with me and watch as the entrepreneurs of our nation move into the future.
And I'm Doug Llewellyn here in our studios in Los Angeles, and we're really kind of pleased to have with us today a Texas farm girl. It's a company. Tell you the truth, her name is Rebecca Crownover, and she's from Dallas, Texas. Rebecca, nice to have you with us, indeed.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on with you.
It's not often we have a farm girl here, so this is going to be an interesting story. First, let me point out the fact that a little while ago you had a chance to answer some questions from William Shatner, so let's take a look at a brief portion of that now and see how it went, okay? So watch.
I know you are well established in your business, but, and I'm sure it wasn't easy to get started. Would you describe for me briefly what you do and how you began your business, and how do you think it's helping to move America forward?
Mr. Shatner, Texas Farm Girl is a children's series focused on educating America's youth about farming and agriculture through fun and inspirational stories. I started Texas Farm Girl because I felt there was a need to teach our children about the values and the lifestyle that I grew up with being raised on a farm. Farming is an integral part of our country, and it is important to keep children engaged to drive American agriculture to new sustainable levels. And that, Mr. Shatner, is how I am helping to move America forward.
You know, you really have a unique mission in what you're doing, and you're to be applauded for what you're doing. But I have to go back and ask you, what was life like growing up on a farm? A lot of kids, you know, these days, they've never even seen a farm, let alone grown up on one.
Isn't that the truth? Yes. You know, I am blessed and at the opportunity that I got to grow up on a farm. About 11 years old, I was driving pickups around the farm, you know, way long before you get your driver's license. And at 12, I was driving tractors, plowing the dirt, planting crops, and running grain carts, you know, during harvest. And you know, one of the biggest things about growing up on the farm is it's not an 8 to 5 job. It is 12 to 14-hour days. So getting to grow up on the farm, I really learned all my work ethic out there, from sunrise to sundown, and just working really hard. You know, working on a farm is like a lifestyle on its own.
You know, I need to point out that it hasn't stopped for you. You're still heavily involved in farming.
That's
and
right.
I mentioned you're from Dallas, but you grew up on a farm in the Panhandle section of Texas, right?
That's right, out in Sunray, Texas. That's where I grew up and where our farm is today.
And tell me about the farm that you have, that you're involved in today. It's a big family farm.
Yes.
30,000 acres?
We have about 30,000 plus acres out there within a couple of different counties. And we grow corn and wheat and seed milo and cotton and canola. Those are our main crops.
So why do you think it's important for kids of today to know what farming and life on a farm is all about? Why do you feel that way?
Well, Doug, you know, there's so many kids these days that don't even know where their food comes from. They think that their food comes from the grocery store. And it's just, you know, even having a daughter myself, I mean, even she's gotten the experience of being exposed to the farm, but I've had to even educate her myself. You know, it doesn't just come from the store, it comes from the farm. That's where it starts. And it's so important to keep the kids engaged these days so that they understand what the purpose is of farming. You know, today we have over 7 billion people on this earth, and in 2050 we're going to have about 9.6 billion people. And in order to reach new sustainable levels in agriculture, we have to keep our children engaged today in order to keep them innovative and keep them thinking about agriculture for the future.
Well, you're so unique in what you do, and I have to point out, you had a terrible portion of your life where there was an accident. You lost your husband in an accident, and through that process, you decided that you wanted to write a book about that experience.
That's right.
And so you wrote a book, and what was it called?
It was called My Daddy is in Heaven with Jesus.
And you wrote that primarily for your daughter, right?
Mm-hmm. I wrote it for my daughter because I didn't find a book when she was 2.5 years old of losing a father, of trying to explain that situation to her on her level and trying to help her find comfort during that time. And so after a couple of years of going through our own healing process of that, I decided to write my own book and for her, and then ultimately it's helped many, many children find comfort in a time of loss of a parent.
Well, you know, I think that's a very good point that you bring out, that book, what you did and what it was done for was extremely important. But it really kind of fostered other ideas in your mind, and consequently, you've started writing children's books for kids to read about what life is like on the farm. And this is one of the ways you're keeping the educational aspect of farming alive so that kids today can learn about it. And you mentioned before you were at what, see this machine here? What is this? It's a combine, isn't it?
Combine and a tractor with a grain cart.
And you were driving these things at what age?
12 years old.
12 years old.
Isn't that incredible?
It's hard to believe. But what story does a book like this tell?
Well, I've had so many personal experiences on the farm, and so that's what Texas Farm Girl is all about. In order to, share my experiences that I've had on the farm, that's educational yet but entertaining at the same time.
Right.
And this book, it really goes into what life is like on the farm, even out in the Texas Panhandle, because people don't realize that even out in the Texas Panhandle, that region of farming is so different than any other areas of the United States. It's very drought-stricken and very dry, and we have to use the Ogallala Aquifer as our water source in order to develop a good crop out there.
That's a river, by the way, right?
Underground aquifer.
A lot of people never heard that name.
That's right, and in this book, it's educational, and since it gets kids, teaches them how to even pronounce Ogallala. So, it's one of my daughter's actually favorite parts of the book is pronouncing Ogallala.
So the book is intended for kids of what age category? Here again is the cover of the book. What age would you say?
I'd say all ages, starting around 5 and up. The little kids under 5 love the illustrations. Brian Daigle did a fantastic job of doing all the illustrations. They're very lifelike, and it just makes it so colorful that the little kids like reading it. I
have to give you a credit too, because you'd never really been involved in this world of publishing and books. You did all the research, figured out how you could get a book published, get all the illustrations done, get it bound, and actually get it on the market. The book is, by the way, available at Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, and I would presume it's in bookstores in your area.
Yes.
Maybe with exposure, other local bookstores will carry the books. That was a challenge, wasn't it?
Absolutely. Oh, it was. You don't just write a book and put it out there and automatically it's out in Barnes and Noble on their shelves and all, in every bookstore in America. It takes a lot of work to really get your book out there. So much competition and among authors, so it's quite a process.
And let me ask you, what kind of reaction have you gotten from the book? Have you gotten any?
I've gotten a lot of reaction. In fact, it was surprising because when this was the first one that I had released, and I wasn't sure which direction that it was going to go. I did a farm show out in Amarillo, Texas, which is one of the biggest farm shows in the state of Texas, and I had so many people come to the show just to get my book because they had heard so many good things about it. And here I am up against big machinery companies and all these different vendors, and it's just blown me away how eager people are to learn about farming.
Now this is a trade show, right, where they're selling tractors and
Yes.
combines and things of that nature and everything pertaining to the world of farming. And you're there with a little booth selling a book about Texas Farm Girl.
Yes.
And you got a lot of response.
Huge response, yes. It opened my eyes, and especially there's so many grandkids out there and kids out there, and people wanted to be able to take something home to them from the farm show, and it was just such a blessing and honor to be able to have that little niche there at the farm show.
You point out in here a lot of the story is your relationship with your grandfather, how you called him Pawpaw.
Yes.
And how he really helped educate you, and you grew up on the farm with him teaching you everything. It's a great story.
Yes, I mean, he was such an inspiration in my life.
Tell me also about the song that was created with a friend of yours who's from Nashville now, and you did a song and a music video all around the book.
Yes, so Billy Dawson, he's a country rock artist out in Nashville, Tennessee. He and I grew up together in our farm community of Sunray, Texas. And he and I have worked together in the past, but I was getting ready to do my book trailer and needed a song for it. And so I contacted him and said, hey, Billy, do you think you could help me put a song together for my book trailer for Texas Farm Girl? Well, ultimately, we ended up deciding to just put together a country music song called Texas Farm Girl. And with that, we produced it, or he performed it, and then he produced it with a Grammy Award-winning producer, Skid Mills, out in Nashville, Tennessee. Once we released the song, people loved it so much, and it was so catching that we ended up coming out to our farm back in the summer and did a country music video and brought an entertainment company out. We filmed it in our farm and in our local community and engaged.
And all the people from the town came out?
Yes, we engaged all these children and all these families that came out, and we shut down the main street and did a little parade, you know, with the song. And anyway, this video, it's really engaged a lot of kids and a lot of people about, you know, just using farming as the subject in it.
Well, I must tell you, what you've done is really remarkable. You're really to be congratulated for what you've done. It's spurred you on now. She's going to write other books. This is the next one that's coming out, and this is called Reap What You Sow. What's this about?
Well, this one actually is another experience that I had on the farm growing up with my grandfather, and it's about planting corn, a corn crop. And when I was growing up, I planted a corn crop and made a huge mistake, and didn't get a lot of corn planted. And that was a very costly mistake, and that's a very costly mistake for a farm. And so we had to go back and replant it. And so this book lays out that story, but also teaches a real life lesson of, you know, you don't realize, you know, the decisions that you make sometimes, how that affects other people's or how that affects a business. And so I had to learn a hard lesson back then as a teenager in that story. And so I'm passing that on to other children who, you know, maybe they're not out planting corn, obviously,
right,
but they can apply this in their own lives through the decisions that they make on a daily basis.
So are you going to write more books? I mean, is this becoming something really important to you?
Yes, it is. It's a passion of mine. It's, you know, it's not about me. It's about, you know, really giving back to the community and really engaging kids and others in farming, and really just, you know, showing a niche and showing there's just such a gap right there with children and education and farming.
See, that's another thing, though. You wrote a book on how to help a child understand losing a parent at a very young age. And here you've written books about farming for kids to understand, and there aren't many books like this on the market, are there?
Right.
You've been very smart in what you're doing.
Listen,
I wish we had time to speak to you forever, but it's been very interesting hearing about this. Thank you so much for being here to tell us about it, and good luck. Again, the books are available on Amazon.com and Barnes & Noble. Keep your eye out for Texas Farm Girl, Rebecca. Thank you, Rebecca.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
This organization represents companies across our great nation that embody the spirit, dedication, know-how, and can-do attitude which has made America the great nation that it is today. And now let's present the Keeping America Strong Award.
Now it's my honor to present this prestigious award to Rebecca Crownover, the founder of Texas Farm Girl, for the outstanding work that she is doing to help keep moving America forward. Rebecca, it's a real pleasure to give this to you. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you so much. What an honor and a blessing, and I appreciate it so much.
You're welcome.
That's it for another edition of Moving America Forward. I'm Bert Tenzer. Join us again as we continue to bring you the entrepreneurs who move America forward.
I'm William Shatner, and for all of us at Moving America Forward, thanks for watching.